Welcome to the Maverick Mindset Podcast, a podcast that will explore the stories of people who have chosen to take life into their own hands, in their own way, and define what success means for them. Be prepared to be inspired, motivated, and maybe even learn something new. My name is Romeo Santos, and I'll be your host. This is the Maverick Mindset Podcast. Let's go. What's up, Maverick Nation? Romeo Santos, your host here. Super excited about the guest that we have today, Mr. Nick Waldner. Nick Waldner is an old friend of mine and colleague. He is an incredible professional real estate agent with 18 plus years experience. Everybody likes the guy because he's awesome. He's even been on TV. He was on the Waterfront House Hunting show, has a beautiful wife, a little boy, and he's even graced us with his presence today when baby boy number 2 is coming tomorrow. So we're really, really blessed and honored to have him. Super excited to jump into this and talk to him. He's an adventurous. He's a philanthropist. You guys are going to love this episode. So why don't we jump on in? And Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. Yes, at any moment, if my wife starts yelling, I'm going to disappear. But we're not due till tomorrow, and the doctor said it could be a week after that. So who knows? Who knows? Awesome. Very good. So tell us a little bit about your family. You've got you have your wife and your little boy now, who's how old? Yeah, so I've got my wife and I have a 2.5-year-old, and then of course we have another boy coming very, very shortly. Yeah. So I'll have two under 3 very shortly, and life's going to change.
That's going to be really awesome. My wife and I have 2 now as well. And you're right. Your life is going to very much so change. Absolutely. Wrangling 1 is fun. Wrangling 2, you go, oh my goodness, we're almost outnumbered. So that's awesome. All right. So, looking back on your bio, and I know you through business, and I know the awesome person that you are. I know that you love to give, that you like to teach. You're very well liked and respected because of the person that you are and the character that you have. But talk to me a little bit about like life and who you were as a kid and how you found yourself kind of progressing into this crazy world of real estate.
Yeah, gosh. So I should have a couch and like lay down if we're going to get really deep into this and go back to my past, my childhood. But no, I'm kidding. So the first thing that came to my head, and I'm an open book, so I just share whatever comes to my mind. But the first thing that came to my mind was I can remember, I think I was in the 6th grade or something like that. And I came home and I walked up to my mom and I had $400 in my hand. And as a 6th grader, she looked at me and I said, I want to buy a mountain bike. And she said, where in the world did you get $400? Because you're 10. So rewind back. I don't know how I picked up this habit, but I was at Costco with one of my family members, an aunt, and they had those big bags of candy with all the little individual candies in it. And I said, wow, I would love that. It was maybe like Crunch Bars or something. And my aunt bought it for me. And I came home and I got the idea that what if I sold these for 25 cents a piece on the bus every day before and after school? And then all of a sudden I started kind of creating this business, and then like kids started bringing money specifically. And then I had to get new product and have different candy each time. And it just kind of took off and I loved it. And, it shocked my mom, but it was just something I really enjoyed. My father, who loves softball more than anybody ever should love anything, would take me to all these huge tournaments. So I can remember again, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I went and built like this snack bar thing that went around my neck, and I would go around to the stands and say, hey, who's hungry? I'll go get your food and you just give me whatever tip you want. And of course, 11, 12 years old, people are like, oh, here's an extra $5. Oh, yeah. And it was, again, I'm like running around doing all this stuff. And I just learned like so early on that the more energy I put into something, the more return I need to get. I am not the person who can just sit and make an hourly or get a salary. I wanted to work hard, and I wanted to get rewarded for that hard work.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So you were a preteen entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, if you break it down and we go way, way back, that's what it all started with. So all started with slinging candy on the bus at school.
That's incredible. So when you were in school, besides being an entrepreneur and loving the ability to kind of create your own future and make your own money. What else did you do? Were you an athlete? Did you do anything like that?
Yeah, I was a lacrosse player. So if you've ever grown up on the East Coast, Maryland, New York, all you know is lacrosse. It's as big as football is in Texas, and that was it. And I can remember my freshman year, I played lacrosse and soccer growing up as a young child. And then when I got to high school, I remember going out, in the fall for the soccer team and thinking, I've been playing soccer my whole life. Of course I'm good enough. And I didn't make the team. And that was one of the first kind of like real world, you're not as great as you think, or you need to try harder, or you need to work harder. And I can remember I just started lacrosse the year before. So all the kids in the area have been playing for 10 years and I'm like 1 or 2 years in. And I remember thinking, I'm not going through high school without being an athlete. So I worked my tail off. I got on the team my freshman year by like the skin of my teeth. I wasn't very good. My stick handling skills weren't great, but I was willing to work hard. And I think the coaches saw that. Fast forward to senior year, I was the leading scorer. I had, all county. I was captain of the team, like all the accolades that you want and you think are important in high school. And then I went from being this big lacrosse player in high school, and I went to Salisbury, which was on the eastern shore of Maryland. It's a massive lacrosse school. Like they've won the national championship. It's D3, like 8 out of the last 9 years or so. It's crazy, like tons of lacrosse players. And I got there thinking I was really good at what I did. And I looked around and it was like, oh yeah, I was leading scorer too. Oh yeah, I was best in the state too. Oh yeah, I was. And all of a sudden, reality slapped me in the face, and it said, maybe athletics isn't going to be your ticket in college. And that was a wake up call. So I think that having those failures in life is what creates that fire and that burn to, all right, what am I going to do? How am I going to react to this? I love the saying, we're 10% what happens to us, 90% how we react. So I look back at those stories. I could have, kind of curled up and given up after getting cut from the soccer team and just written off sports. But I chose the other path, the harder path. And I'm glad I did. It made me a more well-rounded person from it.
That's awesome. It almost sounds like every time you came up against one of those challenges that you're a person that rises to the occasion. Maybe if you were going into situations where it was just always easy, you were always the best, maybe you wouldn't have had as much success as you found in your life anyways.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the challenge is finding things that push us, finding things that we're most likely not good at first, because that's what creates great after. The fail forward mentality. And I have a show, Fail Forward Friday. And every Friday, my entire team shares their fail for the week, what they learned from it, and then what they're going to do next week in order to grow or improve from that failure. And that's a very weird topic when you bring a brand new person onto the team and you say, hey, guess what? On Friday, you're going to tell the entire team how much you failed this week. They're frozen. They're like, what? And on our team, it's different. The culture is we celebrate failure, because if you're not failing, then either one or two things are happening. Either one, you're lying because you are failing. You're just too egotistical to admit it. Or number two, you're not putting yourself in any positions where you will fail. And if you're not, then you're not growing. So it's a trial by fire. The first week you are sharing failures and you're jumping right in.
I love that. The new year has had me focusing a lot on those types of messages, right? So how can we continue to get better, especially with all the different changes that have happened in our industry, Zillow coming in as a broker, all these crazy things that, of course, we won't go down a rabbit hole on. But I've been talking to my team about that exact subject, slightly different. I heard something that's been repeated a few times that was, if you're living if you're depressed, you're living in the past. And if you're anxious, you're living in the future. To be content, you need to live in the now. And so we've been having that conversation like, listen, the past is gone. You should not forget about it, but you should see what you can learn from it. Plan for the future, because the future is coming regardless. So be set up, allowing you to really live in the now. So I love that you do that with your team. I might have to steal that. That's actually very good, getting people to really share, because I always do and you probably have done this or been places where they just share something good with us. What happened? What was your win yesterday? Right.
Right.
Yeah. I
And
love that.
that's what most cultures, all they do is celebrate the win. But if you're already winning at something, you're already good at it. You're not learning anything from that. Anything you've ever done that was hard in life, if you walked in and won the first time you tried, what did you learn from that? The things that we fail at and have to continually improve until we start to succeed, that makes a huge difference. I can remember in college, I went, again, Eastern Shore of Maryland, so I was very close to the beach. And it was my first summer after my freshman year. And all my friends were like, hey, what are you going to do? Are you going to go home for the summer, or are you going to go get a job at the beach? Being 18 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I went down to the beach and I went and looked at 2 different jobs. The first job was a lifeguard. And I thought, wow, this is, to be completely candid, I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. The girls will like it. I get to sit up and get a tan. Like, all right, I like this lifeguard thing. It's pretty easy. And then the second option was something called telescope pictures or scopes, which for those of you guys not on the Eastern Shore or don't know Maryland, it's photographers that run up and down the beach all day long for 8 hours, bothering or attempting to sell to every single person on the beach. Hey, you've got 2 little kids over there, Romeo. Let me get some great shots of them. You can come in tonight. It doesn't cost you a thing. You only buy what you like. Let me just get, and I started that, and it was that sales pitch. And with that job, there was 0 salary. There was 0 hourly. It was 100% commission. Wow. You went out and busted your butt and either came back great or came back and learned something from it. So I'm pretty sure the audience can guess which direction I went when I had to choose between straight salary, $10 or whatever it was, $8 an hour, or this direction, income's no limit. I went this way, and it was probably one of the best teachers in my life, because I would say 22 people would say no before one person would say yes. So it was, you learned very quickly that a no was like, I got to hear a no 3 times from somebody before I move on. Because your first response is going to be, no. And I'm like, oh, Romeo, come on. I'm quick. I'm easy. You don't even have to get up off your chair. You stay right there. No, I'm not interested. Listen, doesn't cost you a dime. I won't take any money from you. Just come in and look at the pictures. Mom, you want these pictures, right? And she's like, well, we could have pictures of the kids. And I'm like, great. That's a yes. You guys stay right there. Don't move at all. Do all the work. Bam, I'm getting the kids, I'm taking all the pictures, and then I always look over and go, Dad, Mom, come down and get in one. And you go, I drag you down, I get some family shots, then I get rid of the kids, I take you and your wife kissing, I'm like, oh, it's like your honeymoon, and you laugh and I laugh. I'm in and out of your life in about 3 or 4 minutes, and then you show up that night, and I've got 50 pictures of your family, from singles of each of your kids, the kids together, mom and the kids, dad and the kids, mom and dad together, the whole family. And all of a sudden you're whipping out your credit card going, oh God, I know, honey, I know you love that picture. We need it. Oh, you love that picture too. And you're spending money, and I'm making a commission every time you pick one.
That's awesome. I grew up in Maryland, so I remember Ocean City every year, and the scopes, and we loved the scopes, always wanted it. I did not know that it was 100% commission. That's pretty crazy, because when you think about it, and maybe it's just generational, I wonder if they're still just commission, because most kids at that age are not taking a all commission job.
Yeah, because most people don't realize that if you work hard, it's much better. But if you don't work hard, it's not. And that to me is life. Life is built where the harder you work, the more you should be getting a reward. And if you don't do anything, you really shouldn't get anything. That's kind of, how I want to raise my kids to understand and learn. So I know the owners of the company now. I was there for 6 years. So my first summer, I was rookie of the year. I made $14,000 for my first summer. And again, 18 years old, I came home and was like, hey, Mom, I'm buying a Jeep. And I always wanted a Jeep Wrangler. My mom said, no way, they'll roll over. They're like roller skates, they're too dangerous. And I came home, threw $14,000 on the table, and I said, well, I got the cash. I'm going to buy one. I went out that weekend, found one, came home. Literally, the car was like $13,800. And my mom was like, how are you going to pay the taxes on that? And I was like, what? And I had to end up borrowing $2,000 or whatever it was to cover taxes because I had no idea. And it's just like those things you learn. So all of a sudden, my work all summer now turned into a Jeep, which when you're 18 is the most important thing in the world, that I had all the way through college, and I loved it. And it was like that hard work got me that position in life that I wanted. I wanted to have a Jeep, top down, driving around campus, all that stuff. So my first summer I made 14. My second summer I made 22. My third summer I was over 30,000. Wow. And remember, $30,000 in 3 months. And I was 20 years old at the time, 21 at the time. Like, it was a crazy amount of money. And, keep going up in that trajectory for another 3 years. It was the greatest job ever in terms of teaching me. And then what it also did is it gave me the ability, once I was in my third year and I said, I want more. And my, the owner was like, what do you mean? Go out and sell more. And I said, nah, there's got to be another way. Give me rookies and let me train them and give me a piece of how well they do. And he was like, we've never done anything like that. So he's like, all right, pick 3. And I got 3 rookies, and my rookies finished number 1, number 2, and number 4 out of 60 or 70 kids. Wow. And then he said, you want to run the whole studio? And I said, yes. And then I started learning the business aspect and the recruiting, the training, like all this stuff that moved me into where I am today, because I started realizing that leverage of having salespeople. I could make a massive impact by teaching and showing people how to go forward or what that runway looks like. And I would win as well. So it was they win, I win, everybody wins. Let's go.
That's awesome. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar, right? If you do more for what you get paid to do, eventually get paid more for the things that you do. I love that. Yes. I love that. Yeah. And then even there's another one of his quotes in there, right? Actually the Jim Rohn, right? You can have everything in the world you want as long as you help everybody else get what they want, which it sounds like you used both of those and you were able to get exactly what you wanted. That's amazing. All right. So I think everybody listening, it's totally clear that you're charismatic, charming, and driven like crazy. Where did these habits come from? I mean, were your parents this way? Like, is it just something that you think you were born with?
Yeah, so I would say one of the most impactful books in my life was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Mm-hmm. Reading that changed my perspective on everything. So as I was growing up, I graduated high school in 97. So right around the early 2000s was the big boom in the stock market. And it was the big bubble. Everybody was like, stock. So what do you think I studied in college? I was a finance major because I wanted to be a stockbroker because that's who's making all the money. And as I got into that and deeper, and I did great in school. School was easy for me. I read that book and it was like this slap in the face. Like, why would you want to go do that? Go build your own assets, go build your own business, go stop working for the government or for a big corporation or for a minuscule retirement, go build your own. And like reading that was like, it mirrored my life. When I grew up, my father was in the fire department. So he was captain in the fire department in Baltimore City. And he worked there for 39 and a half years before he retired. And he got, his pension is like 89% of his salary for the rest of his life. And he's thrilled and happy with that. Mm-hmm. But to me, if I'm only making 80% of my salary, that means I have to scale back my life 20% just to continue living. I don't want to retire into scaling back. I want to keep growing and doing. So then on the other side, my mom, when my parents got divorced, my mom never went to college, never had any kind of formal education. She had a best friend whose mom was a real estate investor. And she said, you should get your real estate license and start selling real estate and buying property. So when my parents got divorced, my dad stayed in the same path he was on. And my mom, I watched her go like this. And then all of a sudden, by the time I'm in high school, my mom's, much more financially set. She's doing the things she loves. We have a beautiful house and all those things that you want when you think about success. And I'm watching my mom get all this, and I'm watching my dad just always stay the same. So I grew up with a rich dad, poor dad, but it was a rich mom, poor dad. And that was that was between that book and my life and how well it mirrored. I couldn't follow any other path. My mom's path was my path.
Got it. Wow. So when did you get in real estate? 18 years. Kind of doing the math. Was it maybe around like 2003 or so?
Yep, 2003. Okay. So when I was at the beach and I was running that seasonal business, because it's only 3 months, I had gotten to a point where I couldn't make any more money. I was already a managing partner, so I made a percentage of the profit of the business, and there was just only so much pie to go around. So that person and I who owned that company, we went out and researched franchises. I was like, franchising is a great way to make money. Let's go into that. But I don't want to own a franchise. I want to own a territory. So we went down to Arizona for Cold Stone Creamery back in the day, like in 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was like that was everything. That was the Starbucks of ice cream, they called it. So we went down, we bought the territory of Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, DC, Pennsylvania, and the southern half of New Jersey. So massive territory. Yeah. And then we opened, everybody, there was 5 partners, 4 minor partners, and then 1 main partner. And everybody had a different role. And my role ended up being the commercial real estate side. So when someone said, hey, I want to open up a Cold Stone, I worked with the local broker in that area to find the right location. Then another partner would step in and help them with construction. Then a third partner would step in and help them getting their store up and ramped up. And I watched this like oiled precision machine, and it was the same every time. The people who bought the franchise and followed the model to a T, made money and were successful. The ones that bought the franchise, paid for the model, but then thought they knew how to do it better, always kind of like barely scraped by or didn't do well or were always upset. So you got to see this internal working of, if you follow the model and stop trying to do it yourself, you can grow really, really quickly. So that's kind of how I got into the real estate world. And then I was doing that for a while. And then, then it comes down to, your ethics and your morals. My partner, who now I've been in business with for 7-8 years, he was an older brother, father figure to me. I mean, like, we had been through everything. He had taught me more than any mentor has in my life. He's got a wife and 3 kids. And I find out one day he's sleeping with our secretary. Oh. And it was, that's how I felt. I was like, oh my God, I loved his wife. I thought his kids were amazing. And I went into his office and I said, that's it. You gotta end that. You gotta go tell your wife, you need to figure this out. Like, we gotta fix this. And he looked at me and was like, this is none of your business. Get out. And I just immediately, the second he said that, I was in shock, because this is like my father, older brother telling me this. And I walked out, picked up the phone, called my mom, who'd been in residential real estate for as long as I can remember. And I said, you know what? I'm thinking about getting out of commercial and coming over there. And she was like, what? You'd come into residential? I said, yeah. And she was like, great. So I went, got my license and all that stuff. And I went to my company and I said, guys, I want to, we had like 10 stores that we owned together. And we had this, that, and the other. And I said, I want to just be bought out. I don't need anything, extreme. I just want to get my fair value and I'm going to walk. I did that. Fast forward 6 months, the wife found out, the girl got fired. Then she sued the company because you can't fire me because you were sleeping with me. And the whole thing imploded. Ooh. And we went from the #1 franchise developer in all of Cold Stone to completely defunct. And I'm glad that I followed my core and I went the opposite direction, because I knew that wasn't what was right. Wow. Yeah. So I got into real estate. And when I did, the first thing my mom told me was very clear. She was like, all right, let me just explain how this business works. My business is my business. You have to develop your own business. And I thought in my head, this is my mom. She's not going to let me starve. Like, she's going to take care of me. And sure enough, like, every time a client came in, she was like, whoa. That one's mine. You got to find your own. You can be part of the transaction. You can learn. Like, I'll show you how to write contracts. I'll answer questions at 6 a.m. or 11 p.m., but you have to find your own. And I was like, what the? And again, it was one of those like slap in the face realization that like, and I get jokes from my friends all the time, like, oh, you just got your mom's business and all that. My mom didn't join my team for 6 years. And then when she finally agreed to join my team, she retired 6 months later. So either I'm a terrible boss or, you know, she was just done. But that was it. That was our entire time together, was 6 months.
Wow.
After I've been in the business for 6 or 7 years.
Okay. Now, your mom, which brokerage did she start at? Like, how did you find your way navigating through your real estate career into different brokerages?
Yeah, she was with Remax, and she was the #1 agent in Carroll County, which is a very small rural county in Maryland. You know, not anything amazing in terms of sales volume and prices and things like that. So I went there first, and without knowing anything, I started there. You know, I joke, I was rookie of the year my first year, but I also didn't have a single person within 15 years of my age. Like, everyone was much older than I was. So it was kind of a joke. But as I grew in that company, Remax was #1 at the time. So it was actually a great company. I realized that I needed to move to a bigger location. I needed to go to a bigger pond, because all of a sudden, you know, I'm 26, 27, and I'm like #3 in the company. That's crazy. I'm not good enough to be #3. So I moved to a different Remax in Columbia, and I instantly went from #3 to number like 26 out of the whole office stats. And that opened my eyes to how some of the bigger agents were doing it. And then I really started kind of getting into that. Fast forward, I started doing so well that our broker came and said, hey, great news, Nick, you're doing awesome. We're going to make you a full-fledged agent now instead of having you guys on a team. And I looked at my mom and I said, why would we want to do that? I'd have to pay double the cost. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. You can afford it, and walked out.
Oh.
And I was like, so we set a meeting up. We went down and I sat down. I explained why, no, we have no desire to do that. We'll stay as our team and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he said, listen, sweetheart, that was to my mom. Listen, sweetheart, we know you're not going to go anywhere. So just agree to it and let's move forward. And I was like, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Next day we were gone. And I had been training and learning from Keller Williams. And I said, let's go to Keller Williams. We moved to Keller Williams, and quickly Keller Williams became the #1 real estate company. So just in case anybody's doing the math, Remax was #1 when I was there. I moved to Keller Williams. It became #1. I'm just saying, you can see how it happened.
Well, I was waiting for that kind of linear connection to happen, because I heard you speaking really in depth about the systems and the models with Cold Stone. And, you know, I'm no longer with Keller Williams, but I'll tell you what, the master's degree that I got in real estate from one of the most incredible minds that I could imagine in Gary Keller. And, you know, I've been lucky enough to meet Joe Williams as well. The systems and the models that they teach, you're absolutely right. If you can learn a system and a model and follow it and be disciplined, what it can do for your business, for your world, is just incredible. So let's talk a little bit, because, you know, up until about 4 years ago, saying that you were doing 40 transactions a year. And when I read that, I was like, that's not accurate, is it? That can't be, right? Like, I know Nick, they've been like crushing it. Now you guys are doing 400. I'm sure everybody wants to hear how you go from 40 to 400.
Yeah, I think 40 to 400 is a great tagline, and everybody loves it and everybody jumps all over it. And it's really, if you understand to study business, it's what you should be going to and gravitating towards. Because when you say you went from 40 to 400 in only 4 years, everybody's like, oh, you know, well, what was the story? But then when you say, well, wait a minute, before I did that, I struggled for 12 years doing the exact same business before I took off. Now the story gets real. Now it's all of a sudden like failure. Whoa, now I'm moving up. And it's It's this gradually, then suddenly. And that was kind of the career path I was on, and why you were like, what? That hasn't been that long ago? Because I failed for so many years, and failing is probably a bad word, but I wasn't hitting the level that I wanted to. And I can remember very vividly, I had moved into the real estate role exactly like I did the scopes role. I was running around trying to sell. And as many as I could sell, that's how much money I make. After a while, I'm sitting in a settlement and I'm looking down at my phone, and I'm looking at my watch, and I'm thinking, like, what the hell is taking so long? This settlement officer is so slow. I got a million things to do. I need to call that buyer back. Still need to go to that listing appointment. God, I haven't even done the request for repairs. And this is what my mind is doing. And I look up, and here is my super sweet buyer holding a pair of keys, looking at her husband, like deep in their eyes. They're like welling up with tears. This is the greatest moment. They finally became homeowners. And I felt this big. I felt like, wow, I'm so focused on myself and not my client, because I've gotten so busy and I'm trying to do it all myself. And I realized in that moment, I needed to make a change. And my change was either add leverage so I can sell more and be more present, or the other thing that I saw it was, I love the relationship. You're texting every day, you're talking every day, you learn everything about their family. Like, you go from 0 to 100 in like 10 days. And then you're with them for 30, 60, maybe 90 days. And then like the well shut off. It's like, hey, we bought our house. See ya. And I remember always getting this feeling like, man, I really liked them. They were really great people. Hope they call me in 7 years. That was pretty much it. So then I changed my perspective. Well, what if I could develop these same type of relationships with agents? And I taught them what made me successful. And I taught them, here's your career path. Don't worry about this. Ignore this. This is your path. And I ran it kind of like a franchise. Like, follow this model and you'll do well. And I got really lucky that one of my first hires, after admin and setting up the transactional side of it, but my first agent hire, literally the first day he came in, he was wearing like sweatpants. And I was like, what is going on? And we sat down and we're in my conference room and we're talking. And about 5 minutes into the conversation, he gets beet red and he goes, oh my God, is this an interview? I thought I was just coming in to ask you a few questions. And I started laughing. I said, well, yeah, I think it's an interview. And he's like, my God, can we do it again tomorrow? I'm going to wear a suit. I get it. And like, that was our first ever interaction. I thought it was hysterical. And then that day forward, if I said, run through that brick wall, he went, okay. And he'd run through the brick wall, and then he'd come back and say, why did I do that? And I realized that personality allowed him to skyrocket his success, because he didn't have the ego telling him, well, that's the way you do it, but I think I'm going to try this. And no, like, did that work for you? All right, then I'll run through the wall too. And like that type of growth and watching him grow. And then I'm there for, his wedding, his first child, his, second child, his first investment property, like all these milestones over years, rather than that short relationship with a buyer or seller. And it was like a drug. I was hooked. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to create the flight plan and the runway to let agents take off. I don't care about anything else.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, anybody out there listening that's looking for an incredible mentor and team to join, I think that was a shining endorsement of the type of environment you'd be in. That's really great. And I think I've been hearing more and more lately, right? And I, it's going to happen this way when you got two real estate guys or two real estate people on the show. There's something that I've been hearing a lot for the last 2 years that it probably took until about 6 months ago for me to finally go, okay, I finally get it, right? And it's actually something that Adam Hergenrother says all the time, right? And he says, I'm not dragging people with me. I'm looking for people that want to stand up and run with me. Mm-hmm. And I think that in any business or in any endeavor, that's really what you're looking for, right? Like that's the quality of the person. Those are the partners that you need around you that like I can sense in your voice, I can see in your face, the energy that you get from it is having those relationships where people want to do it versus those people that have their own ego. Like you say, oh, I already know another way, or why should I do it that way? Or I don't like to do that. Well, all those things don't matter. If you want to be successful, you have to just do what somebody else that's lived before you has done.
Yep.
And you'll find some success if you really give it your all, right?
And when you dig down deep, that's me to a core. Everything I'm teaching, everything I'm talking about, everything I'm giving any advice on is not coming from my little pea brain. It's coming from someone smarter and more successful to me that I've stolen that idea and then presented it in a way that made sense to you.
Right.
So like, I think you need a plan to help people succeed. You also need a plan to know when they failed and get them out of your system. So
Yeah,
I had a rough conversation earlier today with somebody, and I said, listen, to be an agent on this team doesn't cost me a thing. You could be here for another 3 years, doesn't cost me anything. But if you're not making money, I can't in good conscience keep you on the team and watch you continue to fail. So what we're going to do is we're going to set some ground rules and set some plan of action. If you follow this plan, we're going to review it again next Wednesday. If you follow the plan, we're going to do it another week and another week and another week. But the second that you fall off this plan, I've got to be the bigger person and help you find a better opportunity that matches your talents better. Because I don't want somebody on the team that's constantly struggling, constantly in financial worries. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means this might not be the best career choice. There might be something else where you're going to shine, and I'm going to help you find that because I don't want you continually beating your head against the wall if you're not growing and getting better.
Yeah, for sure. So for people out there listening that are just curious, like what the heck, what's a characteristic of somebody that can be successful, no matter what it is? What are some of the core characteristics that you see in people that really help them that you can almost pick out now, probably that like, yep, they're going to be successful, or no, they're probably not going to be successful?
Yeah. And it's weird because these are some of the things that not everybody thinks about, but like, I want someone who's genuine. I want somebody who's a good person who could go to dinner with my mom and my mom would go, oh, they're a really nice person. I really like her. I really like him. Because if that's the case, then they're also going to be able to connect with other people, the buyers, the sellers. Like being genuine makes you trustworthy. It makes you respected. You usually have a better sphere. I don't want the, win at all costs, cut your throat to get ahead. Like that ego is what gets in the way of success. So I want the genuine, humble, willing to learn. That's probably my biggest thing. I'm a huge learner. I love reading in seminars and I fly over the country to meet with different people. Adam and I have been friends for years. There's a picture up there of him and I climbing the tallest mountain in Africa. Like,
nice.
And we have a call every single month where I'm pushing him and he's pushing me. And having those peer partners like that is huge for the business. So I want somebody who has that same sense, who wants to learn, wants to grow, is humble enough to take that advice and run with it. And then I also want that genuine personality of that trustworthy, honest person. And that's really table stakes. Like people are like, well, yeah, of course I don't want somebody who's not honest. Well, yeah, I agree. But there's a difference between someone who's truly genuine and someone who's a salesperson.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I was in hospitality for a long time, and I used to always say to the servers, because they would get frustrated, they get a bad tip, right? I said, listen, don't worry about the tip today. It's all going to come out in the wash. If you do the right thing every single time, it will all come out in the wash, and you'll find that you make a lot more money than if you're just focused on what that tip is right there in front of you, right? Don't allow the tip or the result to affect who you are as a person. If you are who you are, then you'll get your just due, right?
Yeah, there's going to be some people that stiff you. There's going to be some people that give you a ton, but it's the number of tables that you're able to serve over the course of the night that's going to make the difference. How well you served them and how many you served. That's everything in that world. Yeah, so I look at it like, you know, our team, our mission is we are in the business of developing people. And then we measure our success on helping people achieve their personal or professional best. And personal's first, because in my eyes, if I help you become a better father, that also makes you a better realtor. If you're a better husband, you're also a better realtor. If you're healthier, then you have more energy to be a better realtor. If you're like all those things that we can help you grow personally, the whole thing's connected in one way, shape, or form. So if you improve anywhere, you improve everywhere. So we're very much focused on personal and professional growth.
I love that. A very holistic approach to the process. Yeah. That's great. That's really awesome. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your team. What's the makeup of your team?
Yeah, so we've got 14 or 15 agents.
Wow. Okay.
I say 14 or 15 because I got a new one who's just about to get licensed. I got another one who's coming on. Like it's all in shifting. But and then we've got an entire admin staff. So we've got 7 people on the admin side that they take care of everything, paperwork from soup to nuts, from the second you get an appointment till the time it closes and then after. And I think that agent services portion, to take all that, you know, junk off of a salesperson's desk and let them do the 2 things they're good at, meet new people and build relationships with them, and everything else is out of their way, they can take off a lot faster than I did when I first started. And for 12 years, I was trying to write this contract, you know, make sure the title company was aware, call the termite to make sure they were doing it, follow up with the chimney company and ask them what, like, oh my God, I can't imagine doing all that again.
Yeah. I think the consumer ultimately also is rewarded by that process, right? I mean, you know, we use the analogy when we're talking with new clients is like, listen, imagine if you went into the restaurant and the owner greeted you at the door, and then they sat you at the table, and then they brought you your bread, and then they went and made your drink, and then they ran in the back and they made your meal, and then they came back and filled your water, and then they bust your table, and then they washed the dishes at the end. How good do you think your experience would be? Right. How good do you think your experience would be? And when I say that to people, they go, that would be awful. And I go, exactly, which is why we don't believe business should be built that way. Now, it's the traditional way that it is, right? I mean, I think more and more agents are learning that there's a better way that you can service more clients in a much more productive way, have a better quality of life because you're not working till 10 o'clock at night trying to get the paperwork done that you couldn't do during the day, actually spending time with your family, and the clients are happy. So I love that. I love that you have that process. That sounds like you've got a really well-oiled machine. What are some of the challenges you had while you were kind of growing to this stage that you could share with the audience that might help them if they're experiencing some of those same things?
Yeah, and I think it's important to say we're not a well-oiled machine where everything works perfect. We're a complete mess, just like anybody who's growing is.
Yeah.
The difference is when I say we're a complete mess, there's things I just want to. So we've adopted the 1% rule. It's every single day, how can we get 1% better? So I go and I have meetings with my transaction admin staff, and we talk about what did you do to get better today? And it might be something as simple as, well, there's an email we send congratulating people when they go under contract. We've added a little bit of softer language to make it feel warmer. We've taken out a couple of lines that we thought were extra fluff. And we added 2 more points that we usually get questions on, so they know it right from that email. They don't have to actually ask the question. Now, that little email is not going to change our entire business, but that times 365 other little tiny changes over the course of the year, then 2 years and 3 years, the compound effect of that is massive. So now with our team, we're constantly looking at ways to get 1% better. And when you start that policy, like if I hire somebody today, I sit down with them and I say, okay, listen, when you first started a new company, you don't want to, make waves. You want to kind of get in line and figure out where you need to be and focus and all that. I'm going to tell you that in 2 weeks from today, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to say, what's one thing we do that is stupid, or that you did a different way with another company, or you can't understand why we do it that way. You've got to find something that you disagree with the way we do it within 2 weeks, and you're going to bring it to me, the owner of the company, and tell me why it's awful. And people are like, what? Because I know that the culmination of their past experiences, of all the different jobs they've had or careers they've had, they're going to be able to come in and better our organization in some way, shape, or form. And if I can start developing the mindset of we're never truly there, we're always having to grow and get better, then I can foster that open communication where somebody says, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but you guys do blah, blah, blah. And we didn't do it that way. We just did it this way because it cut off like 4 steps. And most of the time I'm like, genius. All right, deal. We're going to start that tomorrow. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, well, I'll have a conversation with all the admin. I'll let them know that we're changing our process. And they're like, what the? But that's what you do to get better, that 1% better every single day. Find something that you can do and improve on it. And over time, the compounding effect is incredible.
I love that. And I noticed that one of the books, one of your most influential books or impactful books you have is The Compound Effect. I too absolutely love that book. I mean, the simplicity of just doing consistent activities and trying to get better each time, and then the compounding impact. It sounds like, which is what happened to your business, right? I mean, 12 years stuck at 40, and fast forward 4 years after, and you've 10x'd it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the Grant Cardone, but I didn't do it in a year. I did it for 18 years.
Right. Absolutely. And then I also see you're listening to green lights right now.
Yeah. So the cool
Or
thing
reading
about
green lights. Are you reading or listening?
Well, it's Matthew McConaughey. And if you don't know the soulful, like, sexiness of his voice, get Audible and listen to him, and it'll just lull you into a sense of, no, I'm sorry, I'm way off base. So on our team, because we're all learning based, because we're all improving personal and professionally, we have different groups that we do. Like, we have a workout challenge, and everybody who wants to be part of it joins it. Anybody who doesn't have to. And you set a goal for the week. I want to work out 5 times. I want to do 3 yoga sessions. I want to get on the Peloton 5 times, whatever it is for you. And then you report back to the group all week your progress. And at the end of the week, we look and see who hit their goal and who didn't. And it's just self-accountability. It helps everybody stay on track, because, like, at 5 in the morning when my alarm goes off, there's many mornings where I'm like, oh, an extra hour sleep would be great. But I'm like, nope, I have to report this to the rest of the team if I don't work out. All right, I'm getting up, and I get up and I go. And it's just that little bit of motivation that pushes you. We also have a book club, same thing. If you want to be part of it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. And with that, we read The Compound Effect. We did a couple other books, and then somebody brought it to the group and said, hey, what about this Green Lights book with Matthew McConaughey? I've heard good things. We all voted, and I said, they voted, and I said, okay, great, let's do it. And then we listened to it or read it, either or. Yeah. And sure enough, I think half of us in the group finished the book before, like, the 3rd meeting. What we do is we break the book into sections, and then we come back and we sit down and talk about that section once a week for 30 minutes. That's it. That's the whole process. 30 minutes to talk about that section. And we're all finishing the book in record time because it was just a really enjoyable book to read. But when you listen or read a book and you're done it, all that kind of just floats away. Yeah. And then when you come back and you have a set time to discuss it for a half hour, everything comes back like riding a bicycle. And then you start to really comprehend it and really internalize it, because not only have you read it, but now you have to talk about it or teach it to somebody else or give your perspective, hear other people. And it just makes every book that much more powerful.
Yeah, I love that. I just finished that as well. And I certainly had the option. I said, well, I could buy it or I can listen to it. And I agree. It's Matthew McConaughey. So I was like, I have to listen to it. I absolutely loved his special way that he delivered information that I think we've probably heard, especially in our world, pretty frequently, but just the way that he is able to deliver it in his own special way was very, very impactful for me. I mean, there were a lot of pieces in there that I found very profound. that I've taken back and shared with my team, and part of my team has started to listen to it as well. So I agree. I think that's really an awesome one. That's why I had to bring that one up, but love that. Well, listen, I know that there's also some really great things that you do outside of all of this, right? You've got a couple things that you like to support and donate that have to do with children. Tell us about those and how people can support you on those.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I get very emotional talking about those things. And I don't know why. Like, it just, I guess that's the core. A few years ago, I brought it to the attention of all the team members, and I said, what is one thing that we're kind of missing in our lives? One thing that we're not really doing. And it came up again and again and again about being charitable and giving back. And everybody on the team said they wanted to, yet we were all so busy with our work and with our lives that we weren't giving that time back and that effort back that we all truly wanted to. So it's almost like we all had a little hole that was missing. So we started talking about, well, what kind of charities would we want to give back to? What kind of difference would we want to make? And we settled on children. So Ronald McDonald House and Johns Hopkins Cancer Institute right here in Baltimore are both phenomenal organizations that help children. So at Ronald McDonald House, if you have a child who's in for cancer treatments and they're coming from all over in the world and they might have to stay for 2 or 3 or 4 months, that's very tough for a parent to afford not only the treatment, but also a place to stay for 3 or 4 months. So they go to the Ronald McDonald House. They can stay there for free. They still are close with their child. They're there to support them the entire time they're going through the process. So we felt like that was something we really, really passionately felt we wanted to get behind. So we did. And our first year, we donated, I don't know, maybe $500, something like that. It was very minor, but it was very just getting our foot in the door and kind of getting an understanding of it. Fast forward over the last few years, and every single Christmas, I'm not a person who just wants to hand a check over. I don't feel anything from handing a check over. So what we do with Ronald McDonald House and now Johns Hopkins as well is we get a list of all the kids that are in their unit, and it's ages, what they're into, what they want for Christmas. It's like a wish list, like you write to Santa, and we go and buy everything we can out of the list. God. I haven't told this to many people. Last year, my wife was pregnant, and we lost the baby. And we lost it, found out the day that we were shopping for the kids of Ronald McDonald and Johns Hopkins. And I remember us thinking, this is one of the worst days of my life, but I'm going to this. I'm going to do the shopping. I'm going to deliver those presents. I'm going to make sure those kids have a good Christmas. And I really feel for the parents that have children going through that. And what that must feel like when you have no control and you have nothing you can do to help that perfectly innocent child. So for us, like, any impact we can have, as minor as it might be, makes a difference. So we were able to adopt, I guess, 280 kids this year for Christmas, and make sure that every one of them had a gift on Christmas Day, regardless of whether they're home or stuck in a hospital bed. So that's been a powerful influence in my world.
That's amazing. 280. I think I saw your postings. You guys, the whole team, right? You guys had carts and carts full. And I remember thinking to myself, that is a really incredible thing to be doing.
Yeah, and to be honest, it feels better to me than to I don't know, anybody, like the idea that we work so hard, and with our success, what are we doing to give back and to make an impact? And there are people that are 100 times more charitable than me that make a much bigger impact. But I think if every single person picked that one small thing and they did it and they put that behind it, what a difference our world would make if everybody just had that one thing that they put that time and effort into.
Yeah, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that very personal detail with us. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that was a lot. I wasn't expected to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Well, there's also, I know that you have something really cool that you're doing that you wanted to talk about a little bit, right? The mailbox power. You want to share something about that?
Yeah, I think with that, that's more of what are you doing for your clients? How are you adding value to them? I think the biggest mistake that people make in any sales industry is once the sale's completed, we move on to the next one. And we know every study will tell you that the value is in the lifetime of that client, not just the one purchase. So we found a system that allows us to send brownies and popcorn and small gifts. And I've got one of my clients is a big golfer, so I sent him some Pro V1s that say,
Nice.
I'm not lost, I'm hiding from Ryan. Like, just there's so many little things. You can get a Christmas ornament that has, like, if Romeo, you have another child and you post a picture on Facebook, I can grab that picture, put it on an ornament, put the name and weight, and mail it to you for very cheap.
That's
it comes
awesome.
To you, it makes it. That's the kind of relationship that you can keep when you're in the know and you're constantly, having conversations about it. So I think that's something that was very cool that we just developed in the last maybe 6 months. And I think anybody who is working with their past clients and really looking for ways to connect, it's just finding those different ways, finding those different things that you can do.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for that, because I think a lot of people could take advantage of that. And, I'm actually listening right now to Never Lose a Customer Again. And it talks about that, builds on previous books that kind of talked about creating a customer experience. And that's been another big thing that we've been talking about, especially again, with the changes that are happening in our industry, especially with where they own pretty much so much of the top part of the funnel, is like, we can effectively make sure that people are still taken care of, because at the end of the day, these other tech companies that are coming in, it's impossible for a tech company to genuinely have the fiduciary interest of a consumer in hand, right? You need to have that human that genuinely is working for you. And I think that that's where it's at. I think for the last 3 years now, that's been our focus, is we just need to make sure that we're being genuine. You mentioned that, right? Hopefully you really like the people that you're working with and you've developed a relationship with them. And so don't be a stranger, right? Like, just stay in touch with them and hopefully be ingrained as a part of their world. And you'll find a lot of success in that as well. And I think that that's a big part of the reward for me in this business, is same like you, being able to work with the people that are on the team and helping to grow and mentor them. I've always loved that. It was a favorite thing that I did when I was in hospitality. But the relationships with the clients, right? And, seeing their families grow. And then when it's time for them, because they're bursting out of the seams, to go into another place, those are really, really awesome times when you can be relied upon to be their person. And they reach out to you and they're like, oh, no, I knew I had to talk to you, because you're like, okay, I did something right. I showed them a value, and they really entrust me. That's an incredible feeling. I really love that quite so much.
Agreed. And that's real. That's that genuine feeling.
Right. Absolutely. Very cool. Well, listen, I know that you don't have a whole lot of time, and I don't want to continue to take your time, and we're so appreciative, and I'm so grateful to have you on. I'm sure that people are going to love being able to hear more about your story. Thank you so much for sharing everything. We love you, and best of luck. Please send our love to Emily, and we're really excited for the new little brother for your big boy.
Yeah. My second little nugget coming along.
That's awesome.
I definitely appreciate you having me. I think when we're able to stop and look back at our past and start thinking through some of the things that truly made a difference in our world, it starts to help us remind us of our values and remind us of what are those North Stars that we've always been following that has helped us through some really good times and really bad times. So like this to me was very therapeutic. I appreciate you, having a show like this where we can kind of open up and talk.
I love it. And you just made me think of one last thing that I'll share. They always talk about follow your passion. And then we're all like, well, what the heck is my passion? And the best quote I think I ever heard about your passion is, the thing that makes you cry, that's probably your passion.
Yeah.
That thing that can evoke the emotion out of you, that's probably genuinely at the core what your passion is.
Yeah. And I could definitely agree with that, because I think my core is impacting others. Yeah. So whether that's through the charity or through, a new agent or an admin that joins the team, like impacting others, a buyer or seller, it doesn't matter. Like that's probably the deepest core of what I want to give back to the world. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate everything you share. I mean, ever since I've known you, you've always been open, generous, and very sharing. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So very easy. You Google Nick Waldner Realtor, all that stuff comes up, from my Google page to Zillow to my Facebook is Nick Waldner. My Instagram is Nick Waldner. I'm pretty basic when it comes to all that stuff. So anybody that wants to reach out, you've got all my contact information easily available. Anybody looking to buy or sell property in Maryland, pretty much we cover the whole state except for two very small portions. But even those areas, you call and I'll connect you with somebody who's great in those areas. So awesome. Hopefully anybody who's not in real estate and needs help, I'm here for you.
Awesome. Nick, again, thank you so very much. Everybody, Maverick Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Maverick Mindset Podcast, and we're out.
See ya.